Hi, boys and girls. This is part 2 for our rules for using commas video. Because there are so many comma rules and it takes so much explaining, I had to break this into 2 different videos. So, grab your notes and buckle up for some more comma rules. Here we go. Rule number 3. Use a pair of commas in the middle of a sentence to put around clauses, phrases, and words that are not essential to the meaning of a sentence. Use one comma before to show the beginning of the pause, and one at the end to show the end of the pause. So this is a little similar to Rule 2, except now we're looking in the middle of a sentence. Think about these like someone is interrupting themselves to add a little more information in the middle of a sentence. Some clues to help you decide whether a bit of information needs these comma sandwiches around it is, if you left it out, would the sentence still make sense? Does the clause or phrase or word interrupt the flow of words in the original sentence? Is the writer interrupting themselves? And if you moved this chunk of words or one word to a different spot in the sentence, does it still make sense? Okay, so I shrunk that bit that I just read down so we could have those bullet points on this page when we look at our examples. Listen to the first one. They added a clause. That Tuesday, which happens to be my birthday, is the only day when I am available to meet. Okay, let's check. If we left out those red words, would the sentence still make sense? That Tuesday is the only day when I am available to meet. Yeah, that still makes sense. This little bit right here is like the writer is interrupting. It's as if this person is talking and then in the middle of saying they can meet on Tuesday, they remember that Tuesday is their birthday. That Tuesday, which happens to be my birthday, is the only day when I'm available to meet. We could move it around too. That Tuesday is the only day I'm available to meet. Actually, you know what? That one doesn't move around very well. You could, but it doesn't sound as good, does it? That Tuesday is the only day, which happens to be my birthday, when I'm available to meet. It kind of works. It's way better right after the word Tuesday, though. Oops. Whoa. All right. Let's look at a phrase, a little chunk of words. First, can we leave it out? This restaurant has, they just put an introduction sentence here at the beginning, but that's all right. This restaurant has an exciting atmosphere, period. The food is rather bland. All right, so it does work as its own sentence. Listen to it to hear if it's interrupting the thought. This restaurant has an exciting atmosphere. The food, on the other hand, is rather bland. Yep, it's an interruption. They're like, oh, well, comparing the food, though, like it's not as exciting as the atmosphere. Can we move it to a different part of the sentence? Let's try it. Let's put it at the beginning. This restaurant has an exciting atmosphere. On the other hand, the food is rather bland. Yep, still works. Let's try it at the end. This restaurant has an exciting atmosphere. The food is rather bland, on the other hand. Oh yeah, that one works no matter where you put it. Last one. This time they just dropped a word in. First, let's make sure it works without that red word. I appreciate your hard work. In this case, you seem to have overexerted yourself. Okay, that still makes sense. Let's see if we can... Let's read it to see if it sounds like the writer is interrupting themselves. I appreciate your hard work. In this case, however, you seem to have overexerted yourself. Yep, it's like they added that little however in there. Last one, can we move it? Let's try it at the beginning. I appreciate your hard work. However, in this case, you seem to have overexerted yourself. Yeah, that worked. At the end, I appreciate your hard work. In this case, you seem to have overexerted yourself, however. Yeah, I like it in the middle, though. Now, earlier, I mentioned that you use one comma before the inserted word or phrase or clause and one after. You can see that here. The comma sandwich is what I call it for short. There's a comma before the added bit and a comma after. Comma before and a comma after, comma before, comma after. All right, rule number 4. Now we're into the rules that you might have learned before or are a little simpler to explain. Use commas whenever you're making a list of 3 or more things. Here are some example sentences. In this one, we're listing single words. In this one, we're listing phrases. The Constitution establishes the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of the government. 1, 2, 3. A list of 3 things. The candidate promised to lower taxes, protect the environment, reduce crime, and end unemployment. So let's count the things in the list. 1, 2, 3, 4 things in this list, and the comma comes in between each of the things. Okay, that's all for this rule. On to the next one. Use commas to separate 2 or more adjectives that describe the same noun. Don't put a comma between the final adjective and the noun itself. So here we have 2 adjectives describing the child, and there's a comma in between them. He was a difficult, stubborn child. Comma in between them. Same thing here. 2 adjectives describing the noun smile. Your cousin has an easy, happy smile. But remember, don't put a comma in between your adjectives, the last adjective, and the noun. It sounds really funny. Your cousin has an easy, happy smile. Like, why was that pause there? That doesn't need to be there. So, comma in between the adjectives when there's 2 or more adjectives. Next rule. Use a comma at the end of a sentence to separate contrasting things or show a distinct pause or shift. This is sort of a weird one that you'll notice writers using whenever there's a twist. He was merely ignorant, not stupid. So this is a contrasting thing. It's contrasting the idea of just being ignorant or being actually stupid. They're different, so there's a comma. Remember, this only happens at the end of a sentence when you're doing a comparing thing. This one, you're not going to need to use this rule very often, but it's good to know. This is the one you'll see in books the most. Someone is saying a sentence that would normally have a period at the end, but they're going to shift it to become a question. The comma separates the sentence that would have had a period with the part that makes it a question. You're one of the senator's close friends, aren't you? The comma goes right at the change. Again, this is a very, very specific rule that you won't see very much. What you will see all the time is this rule. Use commas to separate geographical names, items and dates, and addresses, except for street number and name, in titles and in titles like names. So this is one you've seen before. You put a comma in between the name of a city and the state, name of a city, name of a country. You put a comma around someone's title. Rachel B. Lake, MD, will be the principal speaker. And you put commas after a street, then after the city. Thanks. Who lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C.? Now, here's a little again, there's always an exception. If you're just using the month and the year, you don't need a comma. This is one you're going to learn just by the more you read, the more you'll see this. When you use the month and the year, no comma is necessary after the month or the year. Here's the example. The average temperatures for July 1998 are the highest on record for that month. Okay. Whew. You can pause this whenever your note-taking hand needs a break. Here's another. This is one you've seen before as you're reading, and here's how it works. Use a comma to shift between a quote and the rest of your writing. John said without emotion, oh, here comes the quote, so we have to put a comma. I'll see you tomorrow, period. We start with a quote in this one, then we switch to the author, then we're back into the quote. Whenever you change from the character speaking to the writer speaking to the character speaking, you put a comma to show the change. This sentence has multiple commas because they put a year, and so you have to pause. We talked about that on the last rule. In 1848, Marx wrote, comma, start the quote. Workers of the world, unite. Whew, that is all the rules for using commas. Remember, you can come back to this video anytime you need to review. You can also use it when you're editing someone else's work. You are a rock star for making it this far, because that was a lot of commas. That's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one.